I want to welcome everybody to this workshop to talk a little bit about our upcoming community development block grant that we have. And it is actually the fourth community development block grant we've gotten that is tied to housing here in the city of McPherson. We've handled a number of other different areas of town where we've done this. This is actually part of what is called a neighborhood development block grant. It's the first one we've had where we actually do housing and a street improvements at the same time. So as you saw on your map that was sent out to you, there's actually a target area that exists for the housing, and then we'll also be doing some street improvements on Walnut Street from Avenue A to Avenue D. And so that's the 300,000 that's going to be available will actually be there for the housing portion of it, and the remaining part will have to be matched by the city to do the street improvements along Walnut. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn this over to Gloria McDowell and Stephanie Marsh, who are with SCED. And SCED is the city's grant administrator, and they're very experienced in this. We've worked with SCED throughout all of our housing projects that we've done, and they'll talk to you a little bit about this grant and how it works. And this particular group we're focused on is properties that are owned by landlords and are rented out to individuals that they have to meet the criteria. And so they'll talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to turn it over to one of you two to talk a little bit about that.
Good evening, everybody. This is Gloria. And if you could switch to the first slide, maybe, Nick. Oh, there we go. Housing grant support rehab of owner and renter. And as Nick pointed out, this is going to be about renters and landlords occupying residentials within the targeted area to encourage neighborhood revitalization. These rehabilitation funds are awarded to the local government, the City of McPherson, and the maximum amount awarded is $300,000, which the city did get $300,000 to do just for the housing rehab. So CDBG housing grants can assist communities with the following: owner-occupied housing rehab or rental housing rehab. So with the rental rehab, landlord contributes 25% of total cost, or 15% if the landlord is considered low to moderate income himself. And their demolition is another thing that they do, but there's no demolition in this project. So, but as it states there, it's 25% the landlord will contribute of the total cost for the rehab. And then if the landlord himself is low to moderate income themselves, then they would only contribute 15%. Next slide. And the state of Kansas CDBG program does require the house be brought up to a whole house HQS standard, which includes weatherization. This is an all or nothing program. We cannot pick and choose measures to complete. The guidance are set for us and we have to follow them. And what they're saying there is that we have a certain standard in which we have, so it's all or nothing. If we can't do the whole house and meet HQS requirements, then we would deny that house because it would be too expensive for us to work on or do the project on it, rehab it.
And just a caveat, when they talk about it, HQS, it's a standard. It's not like the standard you'd build a house to today. It covers the minimum requirements that make a house safe and livable.
Okay, next slide. And here's a list of a lot of things that housing rehab activities like roof replacement, electrical and plumbing, heating and air conditioning, window repair replacement, siding repair replacement, minor foundation repairs, and very minor foundation, because foundations can be very expensive. And if someone had a major foundation issue, it'd probably be a walk away or denial because they're usually too expensive for us to address. And all other items required to meet the minimum housing standards, quality standards. Next slide. And here's a couple pictures of before and after of a house out there in McPherson. As Nick pointed out, this is their fourth housing grant out there. So on this particular house, they got new siding, replaced windows, installed new guttering, replaced front porch roof structure, replaced all water lines, both in-house and crawl space, removed the knob and tube wiring, painted all rails on the back porch and painted foundation. Next slide. And here is another one that was done out there in McPherson. And this one got new siding, painted front porch, new guttering, replaced 3 new storm doors, replaced windows and painted bedrooms, new electrical and water heater, new outside light fixtures. So this gives you a good idea of the kind of things we do on most projects. And most of it's, the idea behind the program is to add 20 years of life to a house. So most of it's going to be structural, you know, it's not cosmetic as a general rule. It's going to be very, you know, structural things. It doesn't mean that we can't replace a piece of carpet or something, but, and the inspector will come out and he knows what's required by HQS inspection. So he'll be determining what exactly we will do to the house. And like I said earlier, the limit's $25,000 we can spend on these houses. Now, the landlord one, it can be a little higher than that. It's just because the landlord's contributing 25% of the total cost. But the most of the program CDBG can spend on a house is going to be still be 25,000. So, and additional services like other funds and sources. And I mentioned this on the last one that we do it under weatherization. And the point of behind, before we go, I know that the landlord is not who qualifies for the program. It will be your tenant who lives in it. They are the ones that will qualify by their income. So in weatherization, also we have a program for the K-22 program, but you know, now I'm thinking, I'm gonna have to confirm that. I'm not even gonna mention the K-22 program here because it may not apply since it's a rental unit, now that I think about it. So I don't think we've ever done it on a rental unit. So because who qualifies is going to be the weather, if someone qualified that lives in your home that for weatherization. So now that I think about it, I don't think that program would qualify for it, but otherwise, weatherization allowable expenses would be, which would be repair, replace of heating system, installing of duct systems, installation of mechanical ventilation, additional insulation and attics and crawl space, air sealing measures, and other items that may be directly related to clients' health and safety. So what you will need to turn in with your application, there will be 2 applications, one for the landlord and one for the renter. And the renter will fill out their application and provide the 2021 tax returns. And utility bills usually will come from the tenant because they pay their own, if they pay their own utilities. But the landlord will provide the homeowner's insurance, proof of property taxes being current, and a copy of the deed. And of course, we need a copy of the rental agreement between the tenant and the landlord. Once received, reviewed and approved, an inspection will be scheduled. And part of what we do also is a lead assessment will follow if home passes the inspection. And then work of the home will be bidded out and work will be started. And this is just a general process in general that's been listed here. And this list of items you need to turn in are listed on the, I think, the last page of the application. So, and now if anyone has questions or comments or wants to ask a question.
Nick, I'm not asking a question, but just there's actually 2 applications we'll do for this one. You'll have your tenant fill out an application and you as the landlord will fill one out as well. And as well as weatherization if your tenant qualifies for that as well.